Hello friends, we are Digital World Computer and today we are learning about exceptions handling in PLSQL. In this chapter, we will discuss exceptions in PLSQL. An exception is an error condition during a program execution. PLSQL supports programmer to catch some conditions using exceptions block in the program, and an appropriate action is taken against the error conditions. There are two types of exceptions. The first is system defined. Or also told this implicitly by the Oracle server, and the second is user defined. We also said this explicitly by the program. In the user program, an exception can be handled through two ways. It means in the user defined program or the user defined exception, it can be handled in through two ways. The first is by trapping it with a handler, and the second is by calling environment. First, we discuss about system defined exceptions or implicitly defined exception techniques. PLSQL provides many predefined exceptions which are executed when any database rules is violated by a program. For example, the predefined exception no data found is raised. No data found is right in this way, like you can see here, is raised when a select into statement returns no rows. These are some important predefined exceptions like too many rows, no data found, invalid cursor, zero divide, duplicate value on index. First is too many rows. It is raised when a member method is invoked, but the instance of the object type was not initialized. The second is no data found. It is raised when a select into statement returns no rows. Next is invalid cursor. It is raised when attempts are made to make a cursor operations that is not allowed, such as closing an unopened cursor. Zero divide. It is raised when an attempt to make divide by a number. Duplicate value on index. It is raised when duplicate value are attempted to be stored in a column with unique index. These are some types of predefined exceptions. Except of the, there are many predefined exceptions like access into null, case non, collection is null, these are some more types. Through these, there are too many exception handling in the predefined exceptions. The general syntax for exception handling is, here we write the general syntax for exception handling. Like the syntax is we declare a declare section, we begin the execution section, and we wrote exception keyword here, and we write when exception, then we wrote here and end the program. This is the syntax of predefined exception. We declare the declare section, we begin the execution section, execute the section through exception keyword, and we use this line that is an exception then this, and the dbms output, and this is the closing of PLSQL program. Let's take an example to understand predefined exception in more declared way. Here this is a command line prompt. Here we wrote a PLSQL code for the exception, and here we predefined exception, it declares section, and in this we have two variables. The first is ename and the second is enumber. Ename is the employees table and the last name type, and the enumber is employees table employee ID type, and we declare it. Select employee ID last name into enum and ename. It means we selected the and fetch the data from employee ID last name into enum and ename, and in this employee ID, because it has too many rows, so it gives error. So we produce a exception here when too many rows is a predefined exception here, and we uses this predefined exception. So we use when too many rows, then dbms output you can use cursor, and so it will give. Here you can see we uses the predefined exception here, and the output is you can use cursor, because already we know that user will got too many rows. Employees table has 107 rows, and in this we got only a one row, so it gives too many rows error. Let's take another example of predefined exception here, and in this example we uses another predefined exception keyword. In this example you can see we uses a declare section, In this declare section we have two variables as we defined and learned in the previous example. We begin the execution section and here we write a code, select employee ID last name into enum and ename from employees ID, where employee ID is equal to 1000. It means we select the rows from the employees table, employee ID last name, and we enter it into the PL/SQL variable, that is enum and ename here, and we got employee ID is equal to 1000. It means we give a condition, but employee ID is equal to 1000 is not existed here. It is not existed in the table, so it gives error. So we uses the exception. A predefined exception is no data found. So we uses when no data found, then dbms output is put line data not found, please try again. When we executing, we got data not found and please try again. It means we execute a predefined exception through the PL/SQL compiler and we got the output as we want. So these exceptions are very necessary to the user when user want to fetch any exception through the predefined exceptions here. But all the exception is not predefined by the PL/SQL compiler, so we uses the user defined exception. When we uses the user defined exception, so we use to create it. Let's discuss about user defined exception or raising exception by the program. Exceptions are raised by the database server automatically when there is any internal database error, but exceptions can be raised explicitly by the programmer by using the command raise. User defined exception can be raised or trapped by three ways. The first is pragma exception. The second is trapping user defined exception, and the third is raise application error procedure. In the raise application error procedure we can use, in the raise application error procedure it is divided into two parts. First is executable section and the second is exception section. So first we will talk about pragma exception here. This is a command line prompt and here we declare a declared section. Here another variable is rows detect and it is a exception type. We define and declare the pragma. Here you can see we uses a user defined pragma exception here, and in this exception we uses too many line fetched and using the cursor, it is also a predefined exception, and we defined it through the user defined exception here. So this is the pragma exception here, and in this we uses declare section, and in this we uses three variables. Here first we have ename, which is a last name column type in the employees table. Rows detect is also a exception type, and pragma, here we use the keyword pragma exception init. Rows detect is the when we define the exception, and it got -01. It is a Oracle error code. You can write any code in the Oracle error. It means pragma exception is selected and fetch the error through the error code. In the begin section and the execution part, it selects last name into enum from employees where department ID 80. Exception where those detect, it means when it detect, it goes here, and then it put too many use cursor, and here is the output, because we already used the error through the Oracle error code, and we print the output as the user want. For the user preference, we uses this. So this is the example of pragma user defined exception. See the example of trapping user exception. In this example, we see too many rows predefined exception type. In find exception, we raise the error that no rows found. It means we already have a predefined exception like no rows found, so we making another example of such type in the user defined exception through trapping. Here we got the error. The error is invalid data found in the database, as we write in the DBMS output. Here we have a trap user defined exception, and we uses a declare section. In the declare section, we uses three variables: invalid department exception, this is a variable which is exception type; name, which is a varchar 2 type, and the size is 20, and we use a substitute variable; department number; begin, we begin the executable section; update departments, we update a update query, we update departments table; set department name is equal to name; set where department ID is equal to DEPT number; if SQL not found, then raise invalid department; and if exception, we declare the exception in the exception part through the exception keyword. When invalid department, when we go a invalid department is goes here to here, then it print invalid data found in the database, and it will print out. This is the syntax example of, this is the syntax and example of trapped user defined exception here. And in this we uses when we have an invalid data found in the database. Next we uses raise application error procedure through executable section and exception section. Let's take a look on executable section and exception section in the user defined exception handling. We clear the screen. This is the example. This is the example of raise application error procedure through executable section. Here we declare a variable that is a vManager type, and in this variable is managed through the manager ID in the employees table. Here you can say this, and we uses the substitute variable here also. We begin the execution table. We begin the execution, and in the execution statement we uses delete from employees table where manager ID is equal to vManager. If SQL, we uses the if statement, SQL not found, then raise application error. It is the Oracle application Oracle error number, and in this we define this is not valid manager ID and the statement, and here we got this, we uses the this is not a valid ID, and here we seen this is. So we can handle the errors through user defined error and the predefined exceptions given by the Oracle compiler. So here we complete the exception handling. Thank you for watching us. Please subscribe, like or comment our videos. Thank you.